Well, Tracy, Jim, the gun we're talking about is the SIG Sauer P320. It's a pistol. It's used by several law enforcement agencies. And in this new lawsuit, several law enforcement agents say their guns went off without them pulling the trigger. Abrahams is one of several people across the country who are now suing gun manufacturer SIG Sauer, accusing the company of making a defective gun that sometimes fires on its own. While Abrahams filed his lawsuit back in June, just this week more than a dozen more people joined a federal lawsuit against the company who all say their guns went off unintentionally.
This is, by far, we believe, the most dangerous gun in America.
Bob Zimmerman's firm represents both George and these new plaintiffs, which include several members of law enforcement. He explained the issue is a specific gun, the P320 pistol. The suit cites these guns don't have a hammer like other handguns. Rather, it has a striker like this, which is held under constant spring pressure. Plus, the suit says there's no manual safety on the outside of this gun.
With how light and short the trigger pull is, these guns can go off without a finger even near the trigger.
SIG Sauer did not provide a comment for this story. However, the company has denied the gun has a problem in the past.
It seems to me that SIG Sauer has owned a very huge apology from a lot of people. Welcome to another installment of the Connecticut Gun Bench. Today's video is brought to you by P.A.N. Firearms, LLC. P.A.N. Firearms, your NRA certification of multifaceted gun training. You can reach us at 203-300-6343 or use our website at www.panfirearmsllc.com. As always, there'll be a link in the description box below. If you like channel, like content, what I do, you can support me the link. Everything appreciated. Online store is open, and CGB20 will get you 20% off, free shipping. Connecticut residents, you got to pay the sales tax, but CGB20 will get you 20% off. Let's talk about this. And way back, not too long ago, but long enough, I did a story on the SIG 320 and all the supposed issues that were coming up about this firearm, as people were claiming that it could fire if just simply dropped on a surface. The situation that brought this to light was an Air Force airman who claimed that he had slammed his duty belt on a hard surface, the gun discharge killing another airman. This led to the Air Force Global Strike Command suspending use of the pistol pending investigation. Back then, and the other myriad of people who had come out of the woodwork saying that the SIG Sauer 320s just fired without pulling the trigger, I said, hold on, slow the roll, because people were jumping down SIG's throat. Oh, SIG's done, it's over, they're finished. And I said, no, they're not. No, they're not. And I caught heat for that, and that's fine. But once again, you always have to wait because some point the truth will come out. And this specific case with this airman who killed another airman, he was arrested for making false statements and charged with involuntary manslaughter. And two other airmen who were witnesses after the fact also pled guilty to lying about the situation. Come to find out that this person had actually pointed his firearm at his fellow airman and fired it. This is alleged, of course, but this is the information that we are now getting. This, of course, turns the whole SIG 320 accidental drop firing issue on its head. Let me bring you into here. Two airmen who lied about Wyoming drop SIG shooting plead guilty. Now, this was almost 2 weeks ago, if not more. I held off. Once again, I want the facts. So I held off before I even presented this story. Let's get all the truth before we start talking about it. That's just the way I do things. But when a U.S. airman dropped his SIG M18, the military version of the P320, and the gun fired, killing another airman, the U.S. Air Force suspended the use of the pistol at all nuclear weapon sites for a month. Now, more than 3 months later, the real story has come out. The accidental shooting had nothing to do with dropping the pistol, and the now deceased airman who accidentally shot his comrade talked his buddies into helping him cover up the dead. Now, the person who actually handled the gun that led to its discharge was found dead. Now, they're not saying what happened to him. They're just saying it's under investigation. But to me, personally, I think he could see the heat coming and unfortunately committed suicide. That's just my speculation. But the person who pulled the trigger is deceased. According to a report at AirForceTimes.com, the 2 airmen at F.E. Warren Air Force Base outside Cheyenne, Wyoming, recently pled guilty to making false statements about the deadly shooting of a 21-year-old Braden Levon, an airman with the 90th Security Forces Squadron 90th Missile Wing. Quote, details about his death were released for the first time Friday, including that the alleged shooter, Marcus White Allen, had pointed the gun at Levon's chest in a joking manner, the report stated. White Allen, after the shooting, allegedly urged the 2 other surviving airmen to lie about what happened, according to the statement. White Allen, who was arrested on suspicion of involuntary manslaughter and making a false statement, was found dead on the base on October 8th. Air Force officials have not disclosed details surrounding White Allen's death, saying it was still under investigation. According to an Air Force statement, the 2 airmen who pled guilty to making false statements were Sarbjot Badesha and Matthew Rodriguez. Badesha was sentenced to 30 days in confinement and to pay a fine of $1,545. Rodriguez was sentenced to 10 days in confinement, 15 days restriction to base, a fine of $500. Both also received administration demotions, which means they got downgraded in their rank. The 2 reported hearing White Allen's gun go off and then seeing Levon on the ground, according to the statement. White Allen allegedly told Badesha, here's the story. Tell them that I slammed my duty belt on the desk and it went off. White Allen allegedly told Rodriguez to tell emergency responders that White Allen's holster went off, according to the statement. Investigators later questioned the veracity of both airmen's stories. Charges of making false statements were then filed against the 2. Now, like I said, because of that incident, the Air Force Global Strike Command suspended use of the M18, and then other elements of the Air Force also did the same thing because of that one incident. But apparently, let's go ahead and come out of that. They clearly covered up what could be construed as an accident with a lie. What they got for punishment was basically nothing. Nothing. They got away lucky. These 2 people who kind of made up that story. But this once again brings to light the 320 and all these claims against it. Now, SIG has basically won a number of these suits thus far.
In September, the gun manufacturer won a lawsuit over the same issue. In that case, a New Hampshire federal judge wrote the plaintiffs did not show SIG Sauer knew of any defect before advertising the gun won't fire unless you wanted to.
It does not get them out of trouble with the other lawsuits that are pending and going through the courts. But this, once again, is this is kind of disgraceful. To not only do something stupid with the firearm, pointing at another person while it's loaded, but then to come up with a lie to then make the manufacturer the scapegoat. I tell people, wait, get all the information first. I waited 2 weeks after these 2 airmen pled guilty and got their punishment before I even talked about it, because somewhere down the road, you're gonna get the truth. And it's better to be right than to be first. That's just the way I look at it. And we'll see what happens with SIG Sauer going forward, because like I said, it doesn't exonerate them from the other lawsuits that are pending with this specific model. But this, once again, is going to give them solid ground to stand on to say that, yeah, there's nothing wrong with our firearm. And this, like I said in the beginning, this whole notion that SIG was going to be done because of this, not going to happen. It's really unfortunate. This guy, obviously, he panicked when it happened. And in some strange way, I say rightfully so, but doesn't excuse what these other airmen did. They should have told the truth right from the beginning and gone from there. But SIG Sauer is owned somewhat of an apology. I'm not saying a full apology. I'm saying somewhat of an apology. But let me know what you think. As always, you can leave your comments in the comment section below. And as always, any statements of violence or statements that lead to violence will be removed. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you're notified the next time a video goes live. I'm going to see you on the next one. Peace.